Hey, what's up, folks? How is it going? This is Avijit here, and welcome to DevOps Challenge Hub. So let's start with today's interview question. So today we have a couple of questions from ECS. So yesterday and day before yesterday, I covered Forget. So some part of ECS already covered. So today we'll have look at ECS specifically. And stay till the end. We'll have some couple of quizzes. So you can stop the video. You can participate in that. Okay. So let's start with the first question. What is Amazon ECS and how does it work? Amazon ECS is Elastic Container Service. It's a fully managed container orchestration service which allows you to run Docker, manage Docker containers on a cluster of virtual machines without setting up your own container infrastructure. So it allows you to run containers on EC2 instance or Fargate, and it's a managed container orchestration service. So it takes care of the container orchestration. So if you want to run some particular Docker image on multiple EC2 instance and or maybe on Fargate, so you use ECS. So it's Elastic Container Service. And what does it contain? How does it work? It has a task definition. Task definition. What do we have in the task definition? Maybe we can take a look at some task definition file. Container orchestration demo. Yeah, here there is one ECS task definition. So here you can see the task definition file. It has the image name, the Docker image you want to run, CPU memory you have specified, and container port, which port it will be running, and required compatibilities, whether it will run on EC2 or Fargate. So the other things you mentioned in the task definition file. And you deploy this on the ECS cluster. So based on this task definition, it will launch that container. From that image, it will create a container. So this is the image, ECS demo image, and from this image, it will create a container. This is, image is on the ECR. So this is Amazon Elastic Container Service, and you can click create cluster, and you can create it, and or you can do from the command line AWS CLI. And in the Elastic Container Registry, you have to push the image. So you will have write Docker file and create your Docker image, push it to ECR. So you have a couple of Docker images are there, and that image, like you copy the URI and put in the task definition and specify a memory, CPU, etc., and then run on this ECS cluster. This is what ECS cluster. Basically, you want to run a couple of managed Docker containers on a cluster of virtual machines without setting up your own container infrastructure. So this is the ECS. And you can schedule container to run on EC2 instance or Fargate based on the launch type. What are the main components of ECS architecture? What are there in the ECS architecture? You have the cluster. Cluster is a logical group of resources, EC2 or Fargate to run containers. So that's a cluster. You have maybe multiple EC2 containers, EC2 instances. So where you want to run your Docker containers or Fargate. Fargate is like a serverless. And then you have task. Task is a blueprint which defines what content to run, how much resources needed, CPU memory. I showed you just now. Task definition. So task definition cluster. Then task is the actual running of the task definition. So I've shown you the task definition. Now one task is running here, and the Fargate demo cluster. So once that task definition runs, so it becomes a task. So running instance of that. So here you can see running, right? And you have task. Task is running instance of task definition. Service is which manages long-running task and ensures that the desired count is maintained. So for long-running task, you ensure that desired count is maintained. So you want two. So you set it two so that always two will be running. Two tasks will be running. Container, Docker container that runs that. Launch type, defense if compute is managed by EC2 or AWS Fargate. So these are the things: cluster, logical group of resources, task definition, task, service, container, launch type. So these are the couple of components of ECS architecture. Next question is, what is the difference between ECS clusters, service, and task? Cluster is group of resources like EC2 and Fargate. Task we define that it's a single running copy of your container based on the task definition. Single running copy of your container based on the task definition. And service is a way to run and maintain specified number of tasks. Way to run and maintain a specified number of tasks simultaneously. It replaces failed tasks to ensure high availability. So if some task fails, if I mentioned two, automatically again it will start one more. So that's the service. So that is the other things, cluster, task and service. So what are the task definition? What do they contain? I've already shown. It will show a Docker image name, right? Docker image name, CPU and memory requirement, port mapping, right? CPU and memory requirement, port mapping, environment variables, volume mounts, network mode, etc. Also, you can specify logging configuration. What are the two launches type in ECS? Two launch type in ECS, EC2 and Fargate. EC2 instance and Fargate is fully managed by AWS. No EC2 record, it's serverless. Fargate is serverless. And EC2 managed by us and Fargate managed by you. And if Fargate is AWS. What is the difference between EC2 launch type, Fargate launch type? EC2 launch type and Fargate launch type. So compute managed by EC2 instance. We manage that EC2 launch type. For Fargate, AWS manage. No EC2 instance needed. Provisioning, manually provision and scaling EC2. So we have to manually provision. But here it's auto scaled by AWS. Billing, pay for EC2 instance uptime. How long your EC2 instance running, based on that you pay. Here you pay per task, virtual CPU and memory use. Use cases, more control, custom AMIs and spot instances. If you need custom AMI, want to modify the AMI, not default Linux AMI or something, then you need to use EC2 instance. Otherwise, you can use Fargate. Simple setup, quick to deploy, no infra management. It's much simpler. And scaling needs custom auto scaling setup for EC2 instance, and Fargate automatically handles. You don't need auto scale, like no need for custom auto scaling setup. These are automatically handled by AWS. So these are the difference: how you provision, billing, use cases, and scaling. So Fargate is for simplicity and faster deployment. EC2 for cost optimization and custom configuration. Okay. And EC2 demo, like you can create a app, some Python app, Flask app, which can print hello. And once you create a Python app, you create a Docker file, then build that Docker file, Docker build image, Docker build, and then push it to ECR. And basically create a repo in ECR and then push it. Then you have to log into ECR and then Docker build the image and then tag and push. Tag the image and push it. So you create a Docker file, you have the app file, then you create a Docker image, build it, and we create a repo, ECR repo, then push that image to ECR repo. Before that, you have to log in, obviously. And then ECS cluster. You can do it from the console or from command line. You create ECS cluster, select EC2 launch type or Fargate. Then you define the task. What is your Docker image, etc. How much memory you need. And then you register the task. After registering task, run the task. So that's it. And then if you want to create service, you can create a service for long running task. And how many minimum should be executed. And EC2 instance, like you can go to the IP address and you can get it. So I have already shown one demo on the Fargate time, like day before yesterday. Okay. So now let's go to the quiz section. What is the primary purpose of Amazon ECS? To serverless function like AWS Lambda, to manage orchestrated Docker container, to store container image, to monitor container logs. The primary purpose of AWS ECS is to manage and orchestrate Docker containers. It's not to run serverless AWS Lambda. It is to manage and orchestrate Docker containers. What is the role of task definition in ECS? Because I have permission, still ECS container acts like a blueprint. Yes, it acts like a blueprint for defining container configuration. So you can pause and you can try to answer. Which of the following is not a launch type in ECS? EC2 forget lambda. So lambda is not the launch type in ECS. In ECS, what is the service responsible for? Storing Docker images, ensuring specified number of tasks are always running, managing security to correcting loss. Ensure a specified number of tasks are always running. B. Ensure that a specified number of tasks are always running. That is what service is responsible for. What does a cluster represent in ECS? Group of Docker file, group of running container, logical group of compute resources to run container. Logical group of compute resources. Cluster is a logical group of compute resources to run container. What is task in ECS? Task is a running instance of task definition. Task is a running instance of a task definition. Which of the following is not a part of task definition in ECS? Docker image name, EC2 instance type, port mapping, environment variable. EC2 instance type is not part of the task definition. A task definition in ECS is mostly similar to which tool? This task definition similar to Docker Compose file. Which of the following is an advantage of using forget over ECS? ECS, forget over ECS, let's see custom ECS, MI repair, manual ECS. Serverless, no infrastructure to manage. That is the advantage of forget. Serverless, forget is serverless, and no EC2 instance to manage. No infrastructure to manage. When would you prefer EC2 launch type over forget? I will prefer EC2 launch type over forget. You need custom AMI or use spot instances for cost optimization. You need custom AMI or spot instances for cost optimization. So that's it for today. Hope you like this video. Please like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And also follow DevOps Challenge Hub. And I post a LinkedIn page, DevOps Challenge Hub. I post quiz and contest daily, and you can participate in that. And you can also follow WhatsApp channel. I post regular updates. And thank you for watching this video. See you again in the next video.